Three Texas high school students, reportedly dressed in Klan robes for Halloween, ended up violently assaulting a couple of black children. So now this was in the small town of Woodsboro, Texas. So now Matt Manning, an attorney who represents one of the victims, said the incident occurred on October 31st, Halloween night, according to a report from Corpus Christi's Channel 3. Manning wrote on Facebook that he was infuriated because he had learned from multiple other sources that another even younger victim had been terrorized by these same teenagers, people that he had called depraved menaces that same night. Now, let me just state that this is not shocking to me. It's horrible, but not surprising. One of the victims, again, these are all children. These are all minors. One of the children was literally tased. They had a taser. Now, a taser can kill you. So not only is there assault, but racism, and again, the entire situation, horribly disgusting. So now Manning, of course, declined to release the identities of the three suspects or his client because, again, as I mentioned, they're all children. But that makes me wonder, where are the parents? Texas, where are the parents? Where did why were the teens out that night in those robes? And where did they get the robes? I don't know. See, for me, I don't think it's a stretch to think that these two things are related. Like, oh, where did they get the robes? Maybe they got it from their parents. But it gets worse. Now, furthermore, the three young men who perpetrated these crimes, according to Manning, were still allowed to play in Friday night's Woodsboro Eagle football game against Falls City. Because of course they did. Well, these kids, they do the sports ball. They do the footballs. And so obviously we can't do anything to punish them. No, not at all. They're too important because they play the ball. Jesus Christ. So now the Woodsboro School District issued a statement saying, can't do anything. Sorry. They play the football and we can't do anything about the football. We can't discipline them for conduct that occurred off campus. Oh, really? Really? Now, they say, well, we are cooperating with law enforcement who is doing an investigation. Now, I immediately wondered, okay, so are schools not allowed to discipline students for assault off campus? I mean, I looked that up. I didn't find a whole lot of information about that, unfortunately, or any of those cases or court rulings on that. But I did find that, of course, they can be punished for certain forms of speech or expression. So there's been a lot of articles about that, a lot of discussion about, well, do children, when they're outside of school, can they be punished in school, by the school, for speech that they've done outside the school? Like, for example, on the internet. Cyberbullying, etc. So now, certain court rulings have found that they can be punished for certain forms of speech or expression only if it interferes directly or creates a substantial disruption to the school environment. So now, obviously, okay. So some people could say, well, dressing up as a Klan member, well, that's my speech, that's my expression. I'm expressing myself as a racist. Oh, okay, I don't think I buy that. But obviously, that's not the only thing that happened here, of course. There was assault, violent, racist assault against black students. Now, Manning continues, saying, quote, "We are demanding an explanation from the Woodsboro High School administration and athletic department for how the three players could commit an act of terror, hate, and injury surely known by coaches and administration to have occurred, yet still be afforded the privilege to play football." Well, again, the fool's ball, right? He added, "It is abhorrent, indefensible, inexcusable, and we demand answers." Also, important to mention that he said that we're not dealing with kids who just happen to get into a fight. We're not dealing with kids who happen to be engaged in high school hijinks. We're talking about a specific act of terror where they're emulating members of a terrorist organization. That's the Klan. The Klan is a terrorist organization, literally created to terrorize black people to keep them from voting. So now, I have an idea of why this could have happened. Simply put, it's the culture. It's the culture in Woodsboro, Texas. I know some people will get very, very angry when I say that they have a culture problem there. But let me just point out the demographics of Woodsboro, Texas, okay? 87.95% white, 4.24% black or African American. I wonder what culture seems to be the problem. Maybe, maybe that has something to do with it, the fact that very, very small minority of Woodsboro, Texas. And of course, the fact that they can maybe get away with horrible racism and then go on to play football without any sort of punishment. It's the culture. It's the culture. Understand that there are racists in that town. And by the way, going back to the school and why it wouldn't punish them, I'm betting that nobody on that school board or in that administration is black. Just saying. And as for the disruption in learning, well, what about the black students? Isn't their learning disrupted when they have to fear for their lives? Or let me just guess, they likely get endlessly bullied from their white peers simply for being black and a minority at that school. I think that's a problem. It's a big, big problem. Okay. Now, the Woodsboro Police Department says, well, don't worry. We've opened up an investigation into the incident, and we've even got the help of the Texas Rangers. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, again, we are dealing with minors. What I would like to see, though, is some repercussions, obviously. For one, no more sports ball. Kick them off the team. That's it. You shouldn't have the privilege to play sports. When you're going out there and you're bullying, not only bullying, but you're assaulting with a weapon. That's what a taser is. A taser is a weapon. Other students, black students, or any student, by the way, shouldn't be, allowed whatsoever. Imagine if they attacked a white student with a taser, or if a black student attacked a white student with a taser. You think they'd still play football? Hell no. Hell no. I would also like to see something like, I don't know, community service, perhaps, racial sensitivity classes. You know what? Critical race theory. Make them learn it. Yeah, critical race theory. I said it. Seems like that might be necessary. And you know what's funny? Something that I've noticed about the conversation all around critical race theory, right? Now, conservatives are like, oh, critical race theory, they're teaching it all in the schools. And the left's response has just been a reaction. No, it's not being taught in schools. Well, of course we're not teaching it in schools. No, that's true. That's a fact. Of course we're not teaching it in schools. Maybe we should. And that's really the place that I want to take this conversation. Maybe we should teach it in the schools. And of course, conservatives claim that it's in schools because they've done this labeling, this catch-all, taking something that nobody understands and nobody had even heard of, unless you're a postgraduate law school student, right? And they're just taking this label of something that sounds supposedly scary and saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to just label anything in American history that we don't like. We're going to label that critical race theory. Because they don't want to teach actual American history. Because they hate the history. So again, why don't we change the conversation to, why isn't a form of critical race theory in school, in K through 12? Why not? Obviously, it would need to be set up in a way, of course, that would be suitable for those who are non-graduate students, non-graduate law students, but you'd set it up in a way to where you basically teach the basic concepts. It feels like it's something maybe we need. And so, and this is an example of why we need something like this in school. Not to make white people catch feelings. That's not the point. The point is to avoid these kinds of situations where minorities are assaulted and terrorized by children who learn to be racist from their parents and their community leaders. Remember, no one is born racist. Racism is handed down to new generations by old racists. If we are going to disrupt that cycle, which I'm hoping all of us support, then yes, we need to stop the conservative assault on history and teach younger people the realities of race relations in this country and the history of racism in this country in order to try to put a stop to disgusting things like this from ever happening. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.